And now, straight out of Boston, Massachusetts, it's time for Entertainment Talk Nation, your #1 entertainment talk show, discussing everything from the movies to video games and more. And now, here is your host, Robert Rosado.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. And this video, we're going to discuss a little bit of WWE and a little bit of Godzilla, and that's it. So this one shouldn't be near an hour long, but I expect it to be more than 10 minutes at least. So yeah, like I said, I'd be back today to discuss SmackDown and Raw. And there's been a little development in the world of Godzilla. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so Raw and SmackDown were okay. SmackDown's never as good as Raw, and sometimes even Raw can be pretty bad. But the one thing for me that was very exciting to see on Raw was that we're going to have Matt Hardy against Bray Wyatt, which is a feud that should die. But the reason I'm kind of reinvigorated is because of the fact that Matt Hardy is going to be facing Bray Wyatt at his Hardy compound. And then he tweeted yesterday that the whole gang was going to be there. Senor Benjamin, his wife, King Maxwell, Skarsgård, the boat, Vanguard 1, the drone. It's just going to be so much fun. I think it's supposed to be soon. Initially I thought it was going to be at WrestleMania, but it looks like it might be taking place on next week's Raw, because the rumorville now is that Jeff Hardy's going to return for WrestleMania. And this is only a rumor. I've heard this on a couple other YouTube channels like, Wrestle Talk and What Culture. But the rumorville basically is that it sounds like Matt and Jeff will get together at WrestleMania to face off against the Bar. So, but we'll see, because I thought initially the WrestleMania match would be Bray and Matt at the compound, but it looks like it's going to happen sooner than that. It's obviously not going to take place at Fastlane, because Fastlane is a SmackDown pay-per-view that's happening this Sunday. But that's probably the biggest highlight for me personally when it came to Raw. But otherwise, I mean, Raw's been pretty good the last couple of weeks. And the Ronda Rousey opening with Kurt Angle and Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, that was really good. I kind of feel for her in a sense, because right now she's very much over. She is. The crowd's going for her and they're pulling for her. I'm a little afraid though, because looking at what happened there, I was kind of like, she doesn't look 100% comfortable even in the ring. Like when Kurt Angle and Triple H were going at it, she was just kind of awkwardly standing there and watching, and I don't know, there's something weird about it. And then when she's on the mic, she kind of has a little bit of shakes in her voice, so you can tell she's very nervous. And one thing I do like is that she's obviously genuinely very taken back by the whole thing. You know what I mean? I don't watch UFC, and I've never been a big UFC fan, not because it's bad or anything. It's just never been my thing. And so I don't know how big the crowds get there, but it almost seems to me like she's overwhelmed by the size of the crowds that are cheering her and all that. And one thing I thought was interesting, and this was a good point. I heard this on Taz's podcast, and he mentioned how he initially criticized the way WWE was handling her. But then after what happened Monday, he felt that they did a good turn, because he said that the one thing about Ronda, you don't want to lose that edge, that kick-ass edge that she has, but at the same time, you have to humanize her because she's going to need to sell. And I thought that was a very, very good point. And so it's going to be interesting to see how she transitions into wrestling. My biggest concern right now is whether or not she's ready, because she has been training since late last year. But I mean, you look at these people that come from the NXT and all this, and I mean, these guys trained for more than a year before they even had a chance to get to the main roster. So she's got a lot of pressure on her plate, and maybe part of what we see from her is that pressure, so it's going to be, but I'm rooting for her. I'm pulling her. I hope she succeeds. I hope she has a good wrestling career. And, I'm pretty sure after WrestleMania, we're going to see a lot of her. So she'll get a lot of work. So those are the two biggest highlights I thought from from Raw. Obviously, we got the whole Cena flipping back and forth between Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown was okay. I can't believe they still have Jinder Mahal beating Randy Orton. What the hell is that? I mean, honestly, I don't see him beating Randy Orton. That is, I don't see him beating Bobby Roode. Because they seem to be pretty high up, but that should be a good match though at Fastlane. And then the 6-pack match, of course, is going to be a big deal. I hope they let AJ keep the title, because that Nakamura AJ match at WrestleMania is just going to be, I mean, that shit's going to be the bee's knees, man. It's going to be so good. So I'm hoping they don't take the belt from him. And then Sami Zayn, that was kind of predictable. Him turning on Kevin Owens, that didn't surprise me very much. The only thing I am surprised is that he did it before Sunday. You know, I kind of thought that he sold it, like he kind of played this card too soon. He would have been better off doing it on Sunday if he really wanted to take Owens by surprise. But I guess that's also a small indicator that AJ is going to keep the belt. Because if you're going to give the belt to somebody else, and it's going to be, let's say, for example, Sami Zayn in a shocker, the best way to do that would be to have Sami Zayn turn on Kevin Owens during Fastlane. But the fact that he didn't, and he did it sooner, is a bit, I think, in my opinion, is an indicator that AJ is going to keep the belt. So that's that. And then there's Ruby Riott is getting her title shot against Charlotte Flair. I don't expect Ruby to win that, but we still don't know who Asuka is going to face at WrestleMania. At least I don't recall that she's made a decision. She's been feuding with Nia Jax, which I think is great. The only thing is, if you're going to keep Asuka undefeated, why would you continue having her beat Nia Jax? You know, because Nia Jax, there was a time, a little while there, in fact, I think it was before Asuka came up, where Nia Jax was kind of over, you know. I don't think she's not now. I think if Nia Jax were to beat Asuka, I think a lot of people, it would be believable, because she's been kicking the shit out of Asuka for 3 weeks in a row now. But the idea of Asuka beating her, it's either been 3 weeks or 2, it could have been 2 in a row. But, and I remember last time I spoke about this, I said that it wouldn't be such a bad thing if they had Nia Jax beat Asuka, because number one, she'd probably be the only person believable to do it. And number two, you get that loss out of the way before you give Asuka her title run, because I'm assuming she's going to hold that title for a while. And then are you really going to have her undefeated streak go that long? I just think that it might be good to get the loss out of the way before she goes on a long title run, because then now you're going to have that losing, the longer you put that that winning streak on, the longer it goes, the tougher it's going to be to believe that somebody's going to beat her. Unless they plan on making it Ronda Rousey that beats her. And that's the only way I can see it happening. The problem there is you better hope that Ronda Rousey is getting by with her moves. I mean, you know, the Samoa drop she did was pretty good, not too bad, but it looked like it was a little heavy. You know, it looks like she could have hurt Stephanie a little bit. So, yeah, that's the only person I could see beating Asuka if she wins the title undefeated. Because it's really not believable for anyone else to beat her, because she would have beaten everybody already. So that's probably what they're aiming for. They're probably aiming for Asuka to have her first loss come from Ronda Rousey down the road. And I guess that's cool. It just all depends if Ronda is still over at that point and if she's looking good in the ring. Because if you put a Ronda Rousey in the ring with Asuka and she doesn't look good and then she gets the pinfall, you got a female Roman Reigns on your hands, basically, is what it comes down to. So, speaking of which, that Roman Reigns angle that they're going right now with Brock Lesnar seems to be working a little bit. WWE might have the right idea here to sell Roman Reigns, even though the crowd doesn't like him, to sell him as the WWE guy, and then sell Lesnar as the guy that's kind of turning his back on WWE again. We all know what happened many years ago when he faced off against Goldberg at WrestleMania. When people knew he was leaving, they laid into him hard. So if they play this angle, it could work in Roman Reigns' favor. But it's going to be tough because so many fucking people hate Roman Reigns. So So wrestling is looking good, man. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania. I'm going to check out Fastlane, but I don't expect it to be as good. You know, the other rumors going around that they're not going to do the brand split after WrestleMania. I think that's a fantastic idea. I still think they should cut Raw down to 2 hours as opposed to 3. Cause even though I've been watching it lately, I tend to kind of switch off when they're not showing anything interesting. Cause it's just too long to watch 3 hours. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll watch some of the big stuff, or what I'll do is I'll watch a highlighted version of the show the next day on YouTube. So, but overall though, I like the direction they're going in with some of these matches. And, I've also been watching the mix match tag. That's been a lot of fun. That's been very amusing, especially with, Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman. I think that's pretty funny. So, you know, it seems like he has a crush on her, and I never believe whatever Alexa Bliss says, you know, or how she looks. You know, I think she'll manipulate him, or they're making it seem like it's genuine, but I'm pretty sure it's not. But who knows? That would be a rather interesting wrestle couple, so to speak. But yeah, so WrestleMania is going to be good, and hopefully Fastlane will be good too. But WrestleMania, I'm definitely looking forward to, and I'm most looking forward to Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. Now, I never thought I'd say that, because as much as I like Matt Hardy and Woken Matt Hardy, and I still do, the feud he's been having with Bray Wyatt has just been abysmal. So now that it's going to take place at the compound, I think it'll be a lot better. But we'll see. Okay, so Godzilla. Now, I have to kind of, let me see here. So yesterday, interesting post, I saw this on The Nation, and it's via Gamaro Island, who has been, or is, I don't know if it's a person or if it's a site, but Gamaro Island, for the most part, has been fairly reliable when it comes to Godzilla news. So yesterday, basically what happened was there was apparently what seemed to be an early screening for Godzilla 2. And the purpose of the screening was to kind of get an idea from other viewers, basically outside sources, to get critiqued, for lack of a better word. The early screening did not have finished special effects. In fact, some of the scenes had stand-ins for the monsters. Some of them, the monsters weren't completely rendered, or the rendering wasn't finished. And the purpose of this was to see if the team needs to go back and change something before they put in the final effects. If this is true, which so far from what I've read, it looks like it was very true. I think it was under the title of Warner Brothers action adventure sci-fi movie. And then it said here it was Godzilla 2, completely pre-visual. The monsters were not rendered in some scenes and were stand-ins or stick figure like in others. So it looks like it was confirmed that there was a screening for the movie. So a small lucky group of people got to see it. There were, from what I read, tickets handed out for free to random people. So some people were lucky enough to see the movie. Now, it wasn't in its completion. You know what I mean? There wasn't any, it wasn't the full movie in terms of completed with special effects and this and that. So the question is, why would they do this? What is this for? Number one, this is actually a very smart move, because if you have any issues with your movie and you got to do reshoots, you can do it before you put in the final effects, and you can write things before you have to go into, you know, because the movie's a year away. So whatever time they have to complete this movie, you do that now. You know, you don't want to do reshoots 3 or 4 months before the movie is supposed to be out. So a very smart move in that respect. The other thing too is, once you render special effects or any visual effects into a movie, it makes the process of having to reshoot or redo a scene very difficult, because rendering, especially from a Hollywood motion picture standard, rendering is very time consuming. Very time consuming. In fact, some of you guys who do YouTube on your own, I know some of you guys have your channel, you like to put your videos. When you're done editing a video and before you put it onto YouTube, you actually have to render your video. Even though you may not have put special effects, it's still rendering. So remember, for some of you, that might take 10 minutes to render a video. And it's not too long, but it's a little. But imagine on the scale of a Hollywood movie, with 2.5 hours worth of content and droves upon droves of visual effects at high definition. Even with the most powerful machines in the world, it takes time. It takes time. So it's very smart for them to do this now, because it looks to me like, I mean, when you consider we're going to be seeing 4 monsters on screen at one point, yeah, I think I'd want to fix any mistakes before I do the rendering, so I don't have to worry about having to re-render that after reshooting a scene. So very smart in that respect. So that's number 1. Number 2, and this is just speculation on my part, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, we have Comic-Con coming in a couple of months. All right. And they're going to release a trailer. In fact, this to me makes it seem like not only are they going to release a trailer, they're going to release a trailer to the broader audience, not just people at Comic-Con. Because when you do a specific trailer reveal to just a group of people at the hall, they have the opportunity to explain to them that this is not a completed blah, blah, blah. This is not done. This is just to give you guys an idea. Similar to what they did with Gareth Edwards' teaser back in, 2012? So the one that we never got to see, it was 2013, my bad. We never got to see it until much later, but we were described to seeing, or hearing about it. And when they did that in 2013 at Comic-Con, they explained to the audience that it was, it wasn't, not that it wasn't finished. It was finished because we eventually got to see it, but it was a concept, which is what explained seeing the big monster, the worm monster, or was it Talagan that everybody thought? Oh man, those are the days. Talagan. Oh yes. Vishnu. Lols. Vishnu. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that they could also be preparing for a trailer, and maybe they're going to show something, or maybe even though they screen the whole movie, I think it's multiple purpose. Number 1, they want to make sure they can get everything straight and everything in order before they start rendering into the effects, because I think the effects are going to be pretty heavy. Number 2, there may be a portion of the movie they're going to show in the trailer, and they do want to implement those effects right away so that it looks good. You know what I mean? They don't want to have, because how many times have we all said, oh, the trailer was pretty good, but the effects look horrible. Hopefully they'll clean it up before the movie's out. Well, maybe they want to clean up the scenes that they're going to release for the trailer. It's a possibility. So either way, whatever the case may be, I think it's a smart move. It's also a good sign. It's a good sign that care is being taken for this movie. They want it to be ready. They want it to look good. And I'm sure they want to get an early idea of what people think. Maybe there's a scene that people might think is ridiculous and they might laugh in the theater, and maybe that's not the intended effect they want and they want to go back and change it. So I think this is a good thing. I think it's a very good thing that, fuck those who got to see it. I'm hating on that. I'll be very upfront. I'm hating. But for the most part, in terms of why they did it, I think they want to make sure they got it right. And I think that's a good thing. I think as fans and as very excited people that are waiting for this movie to come out next year, we should be very happy that they're taking care of their work, of their project. And, this can only enhance the movie. This can only make the movie better. The fact that they're making sure they look for mistakes and errors now, and not waiting till a couple of months before the movie comes out, realizing there's certain parts of it that suck and they have to rush to go back and change it. And then because they don't have all the time in the world to re-render the effects, then you get stuff that looks like, Aquaman in the ocean, or a fucking a fake mustache or fake CG skin over Superman's mustache. Because yes, those movies could have looked better. Those scenes in Justice League could have looked better. But if you guys know anything about visual effects and rendering, it takes forever. And if they don't have the time to render it, they're going to lower the quality on the effect to make it render quicker. If any of you guys are taking visual effects or visual arts in school, you'll know what I'm talking about. I took it when I was in college. You know, I remember the first time I made a special effects scene, it looked horrible because it was made with stick figures and a gravy. I think I still have that. I got to upload that one day so you guys see what I'm talking about. Look, it looks horrible, but God damn it, that horrible scene that I made when I was in school took me forever. That little shit that I made. So believe me, even with a powerful machine, man, rendering these effects are no joke. So I'm glad they're doing this. But anyway, guys, what do you think about that? We all know that we're probably hating on the fact that somebody got to see it. But then again, when you really come down and think about it, if you're going to see the movie, I want to see it in its full glory. I don't know if I could tolerate stick figures when watching a movie, you know, or stand-ins and shit like that. But no, I'm very happy that the production team is doing this. It's very smart, and it could only help make the movie better. And it's a very good sign, I think, not only of the fact that we're going to probably be getting high quality, but I think it's also a very good sign of a trailer, not only for a small a hall in San Diego, but I think for the masses. But that's just how I interpret it. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you know, if you're going to release a trailer at Comic-Con and you're only going to release it to a small group of people, you can easily explain to them what they're seeing. But if you're going to release it in a mass scale, then you have to make sure your presentation is on point, because you just can't explain it to everybody at that point. So we'll see, guys, but I think it's good stuff. Very exciting. And, we'll see, hopefully come San Diego Comic-Con, we'll see it. Also, heads up before I go, next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, I will do a live stream. I will be in front of my camera for those who care. So that'll be the 16th, next Friday. I was going to do it this Friday, but it's my son's birthday weekend and we're supposed to be getting bad weather again tonight. So I'm hoping that's not the case, because that means I'll have my 2 little ankle biters here with me this week, which means I can't do videos. But otherwise, we will be back at some point tomorrow with some more stuff to talk about. And then next Friday, we'll have the live stream. And then between tomorrow and next Friday, there'll be more content coming up. And we'll talk a little bit about the Patreon next Friday. Give you guys a heads up, friendly reminder. Always keep that in the back of your mind. Because once that Patreon goes up, I'm hoping that you guys can support the channel. So that way I can go get out and get a studio that I've been scouting. And if I can accomplish that, then we will have the old ETN back, at least to some extent. At least I'll be back in front of a camera and a green screen, which should be pretty exciting. All right, guys. So that's it for this mini podcast. Like I said, it wasn't going to be an hour this time, because those are the 2 things I wanted to talk about primarily. But we'll have plenty more to talk about tomorrow. We're going to continue the series with Godzilla and the cast. And this was great stuff to hear last night, once again from Gomaro Island. And hopefully we get more information as the months go by. All right, guys, that's it. This is Rod signing off for ETN, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment.
Thank you for listening to Entertainment Talk Nation. Don't forget to rate and follow and visit us on YouTube at ETN, where you can subscribe to the channel for daily content.